Because aren't trials and difficulties a daily part of our lives? Are they? Are they? I think women understand that really well. Really well. Because I don't know about you, but for me at least, when I was younger, I used to think when I grow up, inshallah, things will be fine. I used to think, you know what? When I will turn 18, when I will get married, when I will move out, when I'll be a mom, when I'll be this and this and this, things will be good. They'll be in control. But what I realize is that as life goes on, difficulties and tests, they never go away. In fact, they only increase. They only intensify. They only get worse as life goes on. So this is something that we need to learn about. How is it that I can deal with life's problems properly so that I'm not miserable all the time? Because when difficulties are a part of life, if we're not taking them as blessings, they're going to make us unhappy. They're going to make us miserable. When you look at the Prophet ﷺ's life, when you look at his description that the Sahaba gave, what do we learn? He was the person whose face was like the full moon. What does that mean? He smiled a lot. But when you study the life of Rasulullah ﷺ, no matter which part of his life, what is it that you find? That he lived a very difficult life. He was born an orphan. His mother died. Right? His grandfather died. And then he received prophethood. And then what happened? Life only became more and more difficult. I don't need to go into the details. You all know very well. But the fact that the Prophet ﷺ could smile, that's something amazing. So this is inshallah what we're going to be looking at today. That how is it that we can also smile through our daily problems? How is it that we can also be happy and be fine as things get difficult? Whether it's the change of weather, or it is somebody's mood, changing with us, or their behavior changing with us, or a new challenge at work, a new challenge at school, children acting up, whatever it may be. So how is it that we can also smile through our life's problems? Inshallah, this is the objective today. First of all, know that whatever happened is from Allah. It is by His will. It is by His decree. Meaning, even if we have been pricked by a thorn. These days we don't generally get pricked by thorns. I think we get poked by our pins. Or maybe poked by a fork or something like that. Even if it is something as small as that, it has happened by whose will? The will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And having this faith that my Lord, He allowed it, this is the only reason why it happened, this is something that brings a lot of strength inside. In the Quran we learn, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that مَا أَصَابَ مِن مُصِيبَةٍ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. There is no musibah, no disaster, no difficulty that hits, that strikes, except by the permission of Allah. So nothing big or small happens except by Allah's permission. وَمَن يُؤْمِن بِاللَّهِ يَهْدِ قَلْبَهِ. And whoever believes in Allah, then Allah will guide his heart. Allah will guide his heart, meaning Allah will guide him in that situation, how to relax and how to smile and how to be at peace. Now, when we look at our lives and we look at the lives of those around us, not just human beings, but the rest of the creation also that is around us, above us, around us, below us, in whatever way, what do we see? That hardships and trials are something that no one is spared of. No matter who you meet, no matter which person is it that we come across, any person, young or old, will they have problems of their own? Even a little child. We think that, babies are so lucky. I wish I could be a baby. No, you don't wish you would be a baby. You really don't wish that. Because, a poor baby cannot even burp until somebody will actually pick the baby up and help the baby burp. Look at that weakness. And look at that agony that poor little child is going through because of a burp that is stuck. Subhanallah. No one at all is spared of difficulties. Every single creature is tested. Look at the planet that we live in. We see that there are at least 30 million different kinds of animals and plants that exist on this planet. 30 million kinds. Not number, it's the types, species. And everywhere you look, land or water, you look at living things going to extraordinary lengths in order to survive. Really, the struggle they go through in order to survive is just amazing. Now here, I would like to mention a few examples, just so that when we put it into perspective, our problems, they don't seem that bad to us. If you go to the underwater world, you look at a Pacific giant octopus. Now, a giant octopus, alright? A pretty strong creature. A female Pacific giant octopus will watch her eggs for 6 months. After it lays its eggs, she will watch her eggs for 6 months, not leaving even once for food. And what that means is that after 6 months, finally when her eggs will hatch, she is starving. She will die. So when she goes to a safe place in order to lay eggs, basically, she's going to her grave. In the Arctic, you look at reindeer. Reindeer are constantly on the move. Why? In search of food. And they walk so much, constantly on the move, that by the time these animals die, the amount of distance they've covered on their foot is equivalent to walking around the earth 3 times. 3 times. Now I will go on and on and on. Alright? Because when you look at nature, when you look at makhlooq, when you look at Allah's khalq, when you look at any creature that exists on this planet, you see that life is tough. Life is difficult for every single creature. And we as human beings are not exempt from that. This is a universal law that people are going to be tested. We as human beings are going to be tested. In Surah Al-Ankabut, ayah 1 to 3, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Alif Lam Mim, أَحَسِبَ النَّاسُ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. Do people think that they'll be left just because they have said, we believe, and they will not be tested? They will be tested. Certainly they will be tested. They will go through hardships in their lives, for sure. This is Allah's promise. Because the moment you come to this world, you will be tested. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's promise. Allah says in Surah Fath, ayah 3, Sunnat Allahi allati qad khalat min qabl. This is Allah's sunnah. This is Allah's way, which has always been there. And you will never ever find for Allah's way a change. Meaning the universal laws are not going to change for us. Just because we're crying so much, or just because we're upset, or just because we're not accepting the difficulties that have become a part of our lives, this universal law is not going to change for us. So then what's the solution? What should we do? Can we escape life's problems? Can we? Can we avoid them? I mean, we can try to keep ourselves safe, and that is something that we should do. But we will be caught by difficulties. So, when we realize that difficulties are a part of life, then for sure, bearing those difficulties becomes easier. Let me give you an example. When you go to school, when you go to university, is it understood that you have to sit in class? Is it understood that you have to do your readings? Is it understood that you will have midterms? And you will have projects, and you will have assignments, and you will have exams, and the list goes on, doesn't it? When you go to work, is it expected that you will have to work? It's understood, otherwise it won't be work. Right? So when you approach your work with this mindset that yes, I have to do such and such and such, then does it become easy? Yeah, because you've accepted it. So, our biggest strength in facing life's problems after belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is accepting the fact that yes, difficulties will be there. It's not going to be easy. Things are going to get tough. Another thing that helps us in dealing with life's problems is, like what I mentioned earlier, that nothing happens except by the will of Allah. And nothing happens except by Allah's decree. Ubadah bin Samit radiallahu anhu, he said to his son that, "Oh my son, you will not taste the reality of faith until you know that what has come to you could not miss you, and that what has missed you could never have come to you." This is our faith. And once we understand this, that this was meant to be, this was written, then yes, we understand what faith is. Then yes, we have faith. Now, when you go to the airport to catch a flight, and it is on time, you board the plane, you find your seat, you sit down, you get all comfortable, and the flight is 14 hours non-stop. It's difficult, but will you have sabr? Will you have patience? Yeah. Somehow you will spend those 14 hours. But if it so happens that you get to the airport and you find out that the flight has been delayed 4 hours, then what happens? Angry. Right? Now, after 4 hours you find out it's going to be another hour. You say, "This is my ticket." Okay, these days nobody takes printed tickets, but still you insist on taking it, so you take it anyway. Right? And he said, "This is my ticket. It says the flight was supposed to depart at this time. It's been 5 hours. You get upset, right? What if you sit on the plane like it happened with me once, and then because of the storm, because of the snow, the plane cannot move for 5 hours or 3 hours or 2 hours? Then what? You've lost it basically. Sabr gets difficult. Right? Now what if finally when the plane takes off, the flight was just 2 hours? As opposed to that 14-hour flight. Now for that 14-hour flight, you had sabr. Why? Because you knew that the flight is 14 hours, that's what the ticket says. Right? But when a 2-hour flight turns into a 14-hour journey, then what happens? Sabr becomes difficult. So what brings us patience is the fact that whatever is happening right now was written. It was written. I believe in that. And when it was written, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help me go through this also, because I have surrendered to His decree. Then sabr will come.